All right, today we're going to dig into a question that trips up so many business owners. Why is it that sales keep climbing, but your bank account feels like it's stuck in neutral? Well, the answer isn't just about revenue. It's about building real, sustainable financial strength by mastering your assets and liabilities.
So, does this feel familiar? Sales are up, the team is busy, but you've got this nagging feeling that you're just running on a hamster wheel financially. Look, it's a super common trap, and today we're going to show you the way out.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute fundamentals, but then we're going to level up fast. We'll get into how the pros look at asset quality and how they use debt as a tool. Then we'll cover the metrics you need to be tracking, and we'll wrap it all up with a practical playbook you can start using right away. All right, first up, we're going to get back to basics, but with a really important twist. We're going to learn to look at the balance sheet not as some boring accounting document, but as the actual blueprint for your company's long-term health. So on the surface, this is straight up accounting 101, right? Assets are the stuff you own, your cash, your gear, your inventory. Liabilities are what you owe, loans, bills you haven't paid yet, taxes. That's the textbook definition, but trust me, the pros know that's just the tip of the iceberg. And this is where things get really interesting. This is the first big mindset shift you have to make. It's not just about what you own, it's all about what that stuff does for you. It's about performance. So let's put this to a simple test. We'll call it the delivery van test. A delivery van is definitely an asset on your books. But think about it. If that van is out on the road every single day, making deliveries, bringing in revenue, it's a fantastic asset. But what if it's just sitting in the lot, collecting dust, costing you money in insurance and maintenance? Well, then it's not an asset. It's an anchor dragging your whole business down. And all of this leads to the one number that really matters: equity. This is what's left over when you take everything you own and subtract everything you owe. This number is the true score. So the real goal here isn't just to pile up more stuff, right? The goal is to make this number, your equity, go up consistently. Okay, so let's build on that. In this next section, we're going to focus on how to judge the quality of your assets, not just the quantity. This is about turning what you own into a real engine for growth. You see, this is the big mental shift, moving from just being an owner to being a strategic operator. You stop just counting your assets and you start asking the tough questions, like, what is this asset's job, and is it actually doing it? So the pros? They think in these three buckets. You've got your cash-generating assets, those are your workhorses. You have your strategic assets, which build your long-term competitive advantage. And then there are the non-performing ones. Being able to identify and deal with those is a huge sign of financial maturity. And this table here, it just lays it all out perfectly. Sure, a machine on the factory floor is obviously a cash-generating asset, but look at the strategic ones, things like patents or a great customer list. These might not spit out cash today, but they are absolutely critical for dominating your market in the long run. Your job is to ruthlessly minimize those non-performing assets, like that dusty inventory in the back that just suck up cash. All right, let's flip the coin and look the other side of that balance sheet. It's time to stop seeing all debt as this big, scary monster. When it's used correctly, it can actually be an incredibly powerful tool. The word the pros use for this is leverage. It's basically about using other people's money to make your own money work harder and grow faster. And when you get this right, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. It can accelerate your growth like nothing else. But you gotta be careful, because leverage is a total double-edged sword. If you borrow money at, say, 5% interest to buy a machine that gives you a 15% return, that's positive leverage. That's a huge win. But if the return on that machine suddenly drops to 3%, well, now you're losing money on that loan every single month. That's negative leverage, and it can sink you. So the big question is, how do you know if any of this is actually working, right? How do you know if you're using your assets and your debt effectively? You don't guess, you measure. Let's look at one simple metric that pros are constantly watching. Well, you use something called the asset turnover ratio. Think of it like a reality check for your business. It answers a simple question. For every dollar I have in assets, how many dollars in sales am I generating? A higher number is always better. And the math is actually super simple. Let me walk you through it. Let's say you did $500,000 in revenue last year, and on average, you had about $250,000 worth of assets. You just divide the revenue by the assets. Boom, you get a ratio of 2.0.
That means every dollar of assets is generating $2 in sales. But here's the secret. The number itself, that 2.0, isn't the most important part. What matters is the trend. Is that number going up over time, or is it going down? That tells you the real story. And this quote right here just nails it. A smaller, lean business with super productive assets is almost always stronger, healthier, and more valuable than some huge company that's bloated with stuff that doesn't do anything. It's about being efficient, not just being big. Okay, for our last section, let's tie this all together into a playbook you can actually use. This is how you go from just knowing this stuff to actually doing it with discipline week in and week out. Now, this isn't something you do once a year and hand off to your accountant. No way. This is a monthly leadership habit. You sit down, you review the balance sheet, you categorize everything, you track your key numbers, and maybe most importantly, you stress test everything. So let's do this right now. A quick stress test. I want you to think about this. What if, tomorrow, your revenue just dropped by 10%? What happens? What's the first thing that breaks? Can you still cover your debt payments?
Okay, how about this one? If you're carrying any variable rate debt, what happens if interest rates jump up by 2%? Does your cash flow suddenly get squeezed? Or can you handle it? Be honest.
And finally, here's the one that gets so many businesses, the classic cash flow nightmare. Your biggest, most reliable customer pays their invoice 60 days late. Do you have enough cash to make payroll? Can you survive? Thinking about this before it happens is how you build a resilient company.
And all of those questions really boil down to this one final really important question for you. Is your balance sheet an engine that's powering your growth, or is it a hidden risk just waiting to blow up? The answer to that question will define the future of your business.